Hello everyone, it's Fieler, and once again we are back to the Forbidden Battleground, and this time the clears are for the 70 Glory and Empire challenges. So let's just start with Glory. You can see right here that my Grenier isn't super invested or anything, but I do have a max heart bond and a level 9 defense bond, and I put some minimal amount of Mastery Stones into him, but aside from that, I don't think I have anything too ridiculous on him. You can see that I have actually equipped the generic guard skill on him, and the reason for this is that I decided to go with that instead of the block skill. The block skill introduces a lot of RNG into a strategy, so I decided to just use this generic guard skill to show you that I don't need any RNG activations for strategies like this. Matthew, of course, as always, is a trusty unit of mine. He can do very solid damage in PvE because damage reduction isn't that common in PvE, and of course he provides team support through attack command. The third skill really doesn't matter that much. I bring Sprint, but it really doesn't come into play that much, so the third skill you can bring whatever you want. And then I have Narm. Narm is the ultimate fly swatter as always, and there's really nothing more that needs to be said. Chris, of course, is always useful as an off healer / DPS. Her random buffs can add an element of RNG to the fight, but as always, I'm not going to be taking advantage of any random breezes I get, if nothing else. And finally, I have Almeida. As usual, Almeida's special weapon is very, very useful in PvE content because it can lock down enemy tanks. Of course, you can achieve a similar effect using Goddess's left hand, but Almeida's does work on AoEs, which makes it extra useful. Alright, let's start this Glory clear. So, the Glory faction still continues to be probably the best PvE faction there is. I mean, almost any faction can beat PvE just fine, but Glory is still the most accessible one, just because of how many options there are. So at the beginning of this fight, I'm just going to walk up Narm and faction buff. Then I'm going to move Almeida 4 and Tornado. This is actually going to do a fair bit of damage to the Demon because Almeida is a holy class. And for that same reason, Chris is going to be able to run up here and just take him out immediately. So if your Chris is having trouble one-hit KOing that Demon, you know, you can try to fish for a defense or magic defense down on Almeida. That will make things easier. So I attacked the Zealot on the first turn with Matthew because I want to force a heal from this priest here. I don't really want it attacking any of my DPS or anything like that, because that just means there's more to heal up. And there's a chance I won't be able to heal up, of course, because of the random heal blocks coming out. So the thing to remember is if you're going to run this stage without a shield or, mass protect, you need to move your units first before you try to heal them, or just remember to check whether or not they have a heal block. So here I single target heal Matthew, so that even if he had gotten heal block, I would have just removed the heal block and then healed him with Almeida's talent afterwards. And then I can move Chris in to do Redemption, which heals everybody, including Matthew, if he was still damaged. And that is enough damage to take out the Zealot. And now Narm comes in. She is still the strongest fly swatter in the game. She easily takes out the Gargoyle in one shot. I will say that at the level my Narm is at, I actually need Narm to be standing inside the attack command of Matthew for her to be able to one-shot those gargoyles. So here, Grenier is just weakening, softening this guy up. With Lance Phalanx up, so even though Grenier is not going to do a whole lot of damage himself, the Barb effect is going to do a decent bit of damage. And here Chris is just going to do a normal attack on this Holy General, or this Priest. I want to save my 2-range attack for when the Minotaur is going to charge at me next turn. So I am sort of hiding all my characters in the corner over here, as you can see. So the main reason for this is because the Minotaur does have increased movement, so if I did not prep the turn before just to move into a corner, I would not have been able to dodge him with all these short leg units. And you also saw that that priest, even if I hadn't killed him with a combination of my 3 attacks, Narm could still contribute with a normal attack here. Now I need to take out the Minotaur, so first I aim and just do a normal attack. I want to save the snipe for the Gargoyle that is about to engage us next turn. So I just put up guard on Grenier here. There's no real reason for it, it doesn't really do anything. I just do it just because I can. So I use Redemption, or I use Discipline on Chris, which does some damage and also heals up Matthew, and with all his troops dead, it should be relatively easy for Matthew to just take him out, take out the Minotaur. So they are moving in. Here I make a mistake, so what I really should have done is to just move all my units down several spaces and let the Gargoyle engage me, but here I kind of forgot that the Lava Titan here has a 3-range guard, and it's a passive 3-range guard, which is very, very annoying. So I completely waste that snipe from Narm on the Lava Titan instead of hitting the Gargoyle like I wanted to. But that's okay, because I mean there's only 3 enemies left, and this team really should have no trouble taking care of them. I know that the Sheikah Mage is going to waste his turn casting Spatial Strike on me. So I know the Gargoyle is going to attack first, so Grenier can soak up this hit. You know, I did enough damage so that he's really not threatening Grenier that much anymore. So the Sheikah comes in with the Spatial Strike, which wastes his turn. I mean, if he had used Fireball, that actually would have been way more threatening at this point. And you can see like this Lava Titan almost kills Almeida. So like I said, instead of engaging the last turn, I could have moved down and just baited the Gargoyle in a little bit more. But I didn't do that, so here I just have Almeida Moby down them all by using Tornado, so now there's no guard, and Narm can just take out the Gargoyle like she was supposed to. And everything else in this fight pretty much just falls into place. I just need to do enough damage to the Sheikah Mage so that he stops being a threat. And I'm able to actually finish him off. So with only the Lava Titan left, there's really no threats left. I can take my time. It really doesn't matter what order I attack him in. I just need to kill him, and you know, I'm really in no danger anymore. So I'll just have Chris finish him off here, and that will be the Glory faction clear for level 70 of this Forbidden Battleground. Let's move on to the Empire clear. So for my Empire clear, you're going to notice that my units are far less invested than my Glory units. That's just a limitation of my resources here. You can look at Vargas. He has no defense bond and no heart bond, which is going to make him not as tanky as he could be, to say the least. He has some minimum Mastery Stones in him, and he is actually using 2 green plus 2 blue as his enchants. The reason for this is because I want a Blood Pact on him. I don't want him to be inflicted with the random heal blocks from the gargoyles, and Iris is going to be busy doing other things, so she can't really have time to cast shield on him. You can see that Vargas is using crappy skills like Last Stand and the generic guard. Like what I did with Grenier, I'm not going to be using any of the RNG skills. Now, even though I do have a Bloodline Magic Armor equipped on him, I can assure you that none of the things I do in this strategy are going to require that it activates, so don't worry about it. And then I have a single SSR unit. I could not clear this with only SR units. I tried for a little bit, but my SR units just aren't good enough yet. Leon, of course, is a very common unit for people to have, so I figured this is probably one of the best ones to pick if I was going to pick an SSR unit. Leon has a pretty standard set. He's using Rough Sea Enchant, and he's just going to be bringing Chivalry plus 2 attacks. And then we have Sonya here, who is just a nice mix of both damage and crowd control by bringing Rout on her. She still only has single class mastery, so she does not have ninjutsu, so instead I equip Blast on her so that she has better survivability. Next we have Imelda. To clarify what I mean in the class section of this page, what I mean is that Imelda is on her Queen class, which is actually only 3 out of 4 mastery, but I have her other class, the Holy class, mastered already. So you might be wondering why I didn't just switch her over to the Holy class, and basically it's just because I'm lazy. But anyway, her soldiers are Firebrand snipers. This is actually very important. The Firebrand snipers are very, very powerful, and you're going to see them do a bit of work dealing damage to enemies. Aside from that, she has no heart bond, she has no defense or attack bond, she has no mastery stones because she's not mastered class. And I do have a juggler plushie on her. This is actually, I would say it is required for what I'm about to do. I do think maybe you might be able to get by without a plushie if your Leon is strong enough, but having a plushie is just so important when you want to use Imelda's 3 cost skill. The final thing I want to note is that if you take a look at the skills I'm bringing, Free Strike, Mass Attack, and 3 cost, that means that I actually don't need Imelda to be runestone at all if I didn't want her to be. You can actually have her single mastered in Queen, and you would still be able to do this strategy given those skills. And finally we have Iris. Now I know some of you might be poo-pooing me because Iris is a limited character, but unfortunately I just don't have a lot of other options I can go with here. Iris has a goddess tier, and I actually think that's important. But aside from that, the rest of her equipment is pretty much whatever. You do need a goddess left hand on both Imelda and Iris. I think that's actually very important. But aside from that, I think you can just throw whatever you want on them and it should be fine. Alright, let's start with the Empire clear now. And to say that this is harder than the Glory faction, it would be an understatement. This is so much harder. I mean, part of it is because my Empire team is a lot weaker. And even despite using one SSR unit here, which is Leon, like I said, Leon, I feel like I tried to clear this stage with only SR units. I couldn't quite do it, so I used Leon. I feel like Leon is probably the fairest SSR to be using, you know, because almost everybody has Leon. You know, but even if you don't use Leon, you can use some other powerful DPS like Ares or something. And obviously if you have access to all kinds of SSR Empire units, it makes this challenge a lot easier. So the first thing I do is to just route the Shiga Mage out of his fort tile. And then I am going to ram him with Leon with Assault. So sometimes, depending on my crit luck or just the damage roll or something, Leon just straight up kills the Shiga Mage on that attack. That would be useful, but it's not necessary. So, and also, of course, if Whirlwind activates against Sonya, that also isn't a big deal. I don't believe it can activate when he's stunned, so it doesn't really matter. So Sonya finishes him off, which does give him a stack, which is nice. So here Iris is going to take advantage of the Goddess left hand. The Goddess left hands are going to be getting a lot of use here. So I just want to damage this Minotaur heavily as much as I can. And here I cast Mass Attack. So the reason I do this is because the gargoyles in this map have Attack Intimidate, and I really don't want them to be inflicting my DPS units with Attack Down. It's already hard enough for me to achieve kills with my weak Empire team. I don't need to take even more debuffs on top of that. So here is one reason that Blood Pack is very handy, is because here my Vargas gets stunned. I want the Goddess tier to remove the stun. So if he also got heal blocked, then this would just be a 50-50 chance of him not getting healed for stun, which just is going to result in a lot of restarts, and you don't want that. Imelda does Free Strike on the Gargoyle, and more importantly, Imelda gets the Firebrand Archer fixed damage, which is actually very significant, and that opens up for it to be finished off with Chaos Helix from Sonya. So here is one reason I brought Guardian Infantry, and that's because on this turn, this Lava Titan is going to attack Vargas. If I had, I tried this map with Lava Titans as well, and it can work. It's just that you might need some RNG to go your way if you want to put Lava Titans on Vargas instead. Lava Titans can also be helpful because, of course, the fixed damage from Lava Titans is very, very powerful. So if you think your Vargas can survive with Lava Titans, then I would prefer Lava Titans just because the fixed damage can be very powerful. Here I'm just going to finish off the stupid Lava Titan with Sonya. Or I suppose more specifically the Vampire Bats finish off the Lava Titan. So I want Vargas to survive this enemy phase, so I just do a single target heal. Honestly, even if Vargas died at this point, it probably... even if Vargas died at this point, it really wouldn't matter, because I don't need him to tank anymore. And you're going to see why in a second. So, this gargoyle is still alive, so I need to take care of him. So I'm just going to route this gargoyle, mainly because my Leon is at such low HP that if I attacked, I'd probably just have Leon suicide into it. So I just use route from Sonya, and now it's stunned, and it's completely a non-issue whether or not Leon is injured. And I also just move Iris so I can remove the heal block that Leon got from the gargoyle. This way, if I use Chivalry, he'll get both the Chivalry heal and the Iris Talent heal, and that gets him to a pretty healthy amount of HP and do a sizable amount of damage to this gargoyle. So now the two tanks and the leftover healer are just going to track me. I'm going to move Imelda up, and I'm going to move everyone else down and take out the gargoyle. What you're going to see is that because of the way the AI on these two tanks and the healer work, you can pretty much just kite them up and down forever if you need some time to regroup. So at some point you can actually trick the AI into doing this thing where even though the two tanks are just going to guard each other, and then the priest will just run up chasing your units. And if you position correctly, you can have the priest run away far enough from the two tanks so that you can just run in and kill him. So right here they are still chasing me, and the guards just came out. So you're going to see me try to bait them. I'm actually not going to be successful with the bait on this run, but with some slight adjustments, you can pretty much just make them. You can make the two tanks guard each other, and then the priest will walk way too far away from them. So Queen's whip is back up, so I can just whip wherever I want. So you can see here, because the AI thinks I'm going to attack him, the two tanks are just guarding each other, and now the priest is going to walk up. So the issue here is that I had Vargas in the wrong spot, so like he's sort of trying to chase Vargas. What I really should have done is just like, if I could have like moved Vargas up one extra space or something, what would have happened was that the priest would have just walked straight up 3 squares, and if he did that, I could just run in with Leon and Sonya and just kill him. And at that point, there's just 2 tanks left with no healer, and I could just whittle them away. Unfortunately, I didn't get to do that, so I'm just going to engage anyway. It's not a big deal. The enemies that are left over are really not a big threat offensively, so even my incredibly underbuilt Vargas is able to handle all of them. This priest is really annoying because he makes the units around him immune to all debuffs. So I just take out the zealot here, and what's left is the demon. So I can actually, so because rout actually applies its stun after it pushes somebody, you can actually still rout this. You can actually still rout the demon, which is pretty funny. But that's not necessary anyway. I mean, with Chaos Helix, I deal so much damage that the Archdemon is just like, it's not like, even if Iris did not finish it off, it would not have been a threat anymore. So with only a healer left, all that's left is to dogpile him and make him regret ever opposing the Empire. And with that, that's the Empire clear. So I hope you found this video useful. It took me a while to figure out the Empire solution with 4 SR characters. I do think it is possible with only SR characters, but I just don't have all the Empire ones built up yet. But anyway, I hope you found this video. I'll see you guys next time.